All right, we're recording.
Cool. It's episode 6. Was originally going to be a guest episode.
Yeah, we were supposed to have a third today.
Yeah, so we have Diesel in the studio again.
Once again, he's the fill-in, permanent fill-in.
Whenever we don't have a guest, he can just come in and be our third wheel, and it's cool by me. But why don't you? Do you want to get right into who we were going to have on and that sort of thing?
Yeah, we can do that.
Cool. We'll do that. We are going to have on a coworker of ours, kind of a friend, kind of. Yeah.
Well,
that'll make him feel good.
Let's not give him too much credit.
Well, I mean, I got to say one good thing about him before we continue this conversation.
He's a guy we work with.
And he's dabbled in stand-up comedy over the past, year?
Yeah.
Something like that.
I wouldn't even say a year, probably like 6 months.
Yeah, he's done a few sets here and there, and we've worked with him, and he's kind of interested in this sort of thing. So we were like, you know what? He'd be a fun person to have in. We have a good dynamic because we've always shot the shit at work, and it's usually fun conversation. So I thought it would be a good opportunity to have somebody on, and it'd be good.
Yeah, just get a different voice in, mix it up a little bit. Someone that isn't too busy with other obligations as far as like other comics and shit go.
Yeah, exactly. It's not like, and we know him personally. His schedule is not the busiest when he's not working. So today he didn't work. And anyway, we were supposed to, he was supposed to be here at 12:30, and you texted me at 12:30 saying he had not hit you up, right?
Well, I told him 12:30 to give him a 30-minute cushion because I knew you'd be here at 1, and I know how he fucking operates.
Yeah, so we told him 12:30.
And I texted him at 11 saying, like, giving him the address and everything, and didn't hear back from him until 12:30.
Jeez. And at 12:30 he said,
just woke up.
Just woke up.
Fuck, just woke up.
And then didn't you tell him, or are you pulling up your phone now? You're going to read the text message.
Yeah.
Cool.
Well, I'll give you the deets. So at 12:32, fuck, I just woke up. And I said, Mike will be here around 1.
Yep.
I'm not even
just after 1 now.
Yeah, so it's 1:06. So you were right on time.
I was just before 1. We're already recording. So
yeah,
Mike did okay. How about Hunter?
Mike's here. Where's Hunter?
Where's he at? What'd he say?
He said, I'm not even near my car.
Huh. Okay.
So he did go out drinking last night.
Yes.
Which I'll give him that maybe when you go out drinking, you stay up too late. You're going to sleep in a little bit. But it's not like this is a work obligation. Like this is a fun thing.
Yes.
Maybe you could set a fucking alarm. Maybe.
Yes, this is something he said he was very excited for.
Yeah.
See, he was excited.
And I even said, last night I even said, I'll text you at 11.
Yes.
In the morning. I'll text you at 11.
And this is a guy who's looking to kind of get his feet wet and break into the comedy scene, do that. It's not a bad show to be on for that.
No, because it's like we've talked about before. There aren't a ton of people listening, so it's just get your chops, cut your teeth a little bit.
And there might be some other local comics who listen, come on the show, that kind of stuff. Over time, I post it, say he does some local comedy. People are going to look at it and be like, I don't know who that guy is, or I don't know he does comedy. Like the other people in the scene, it's not like it's going to be much exposure, but it's kind of a big thing to be asked to be a guest on any podcast, even if they have no listeners, like 0. It's kind of an obligation to take them up on it unless it's a topic matter you don't want. It doesn't matter. He doesn't have to do the show. But it is really weird that I knew this was going to, not new, but I even said, I think he's going to bitch out.
Everybody said it.
Everybody said it.
I even excuse me. I even called it last night. I even within a separate group chat, I even said that he's going to go dark. He's not going to show up.
Now, here's the thing about it, is it that you can foresee him making mistakes along the way where he really does fuck up and he's like, damn it, or is he a liar? Like, which is it, dude? It's so easy to see the things that come, and it's like when you, like, I thought he was going to be afraid to come on the show. You know, we bust his balls a lot, and he does a lot of stupid stuff, and I don't know. I was actually excited to have him on for one thing. I wanted to know if I treat him particularly worse than his group of friends, like people in his circle. Like, is it something that, because I talk about personality types, just this last episode, I brought up how certain personality types trigger different things in me. This is the kind of guy that, like, if I'm in a room full of people and busting his balls, some of the women in the room are probably going to think I'm bullying him. You know, like some of the people who are like,
some of the shit that you say to him and the way that you treat him, definitely.
Yeah, I can't help it, dude. I really cannot help it sometimes. I mean, sometimes it's just too funny not to say. It's just repeating back what he does, essentially. It's easy material. You just are like, did you really just think that if you did this, that would happen, essentially, you know?
Here's the fucked up thing, is that yeah, he does do dumb shit, and it is easy to bust his balls, but he is funny. Like, he does say some funny shit, and he can carry a conversation.
That's it. It's like he's not totally defenseless. It's like that guy that's he's not completely dumb in this way. So, like, he's not this guy. I would say the other guy we worked with, Jonathan, was like this. They're, like, about as dumb as you can be, where you can still call him dumb and like pick on him for being dumb before it's like,
before you feel bad, because
well, like, you can't make fun of like a guy who's like mentally retarded.
Yeah.
But they kind of are, you know. It's like if you think of mental retardation or something like that, or just being having some sort of things where you just, somebody might look at you and go, how do you not know that? Or, you know, like you might if someone was on your job who had Down syndrome, you'd be like, did you really think that was a good idea? You know, no, but it's kind of, they're, because they aren't, and they're kind of just seen as just average, normal, and they look good. They're attractive. Him and Jonathan both have that going for them, where they don't, like, they're not totally bad at getting friends, being social, having people to go out with, and they're attractive enough where they can get a hot girl. I guess that makes it easier for me to bust his balls. And he tries to hang, like he tries to give it back sometimes, which makes it good. Like, there are some people who are easy targets where they're too sensitive. Like, he goes about it well.
He's got very thick skin.
I don't know if
he can take it well. I think at the end of the day, he just doesn't give a fuck.
Yeah.
And does all this shit, and people just rip him up for it, but he just doesn't fucking care.
Yeah, and you know, people listening, it's like, they don't even have to know Hunter. I'm sure there's somebody that you know that kind of fits that mold.
Yeah.
It's like the idiot cool guy, or like it's the butt of the joke among the cool people. Like, they hang around people who are probably considered to be in high school social circles what you would consider the cooler kids. Yeah. Or at least like the jockey cooler kids, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Play sports, attractive enough, all that kind of stuff. But I just want to know if he fits that role in other circles. You kind of hinted at that he does.
No,
you think
he
that people
does.
bust his balls in his friend circle?
Dude, he definitely does. I'll give him this, like, as much of an idiot as you think he is, he fucking pulls chicks, like hot chicks too. So he definitely fits that, like, fits into like.
I mean, like, how do his friends pick on him and stuff? Do they? You think they think
dude, everybody busts his balls?
Everybody busts his balls. What is it?
But I don't know. I think it's just him, just how he is overall.
Do you think he bullshits more than he fucks up? Like, do you think he lies to you to make it seem like he?
Yeah. I think a lot of it is just playing into it.
All right. The last few times that he has waited till a late amount of time to acknowledge the fact that he's not awake for something. So this podcast and work, if you had to say last 3 times, would you say there's more of a chance that twice he was lying and he knew that he was no-showing? Or would you say that twice he was telling the truth and he really just didn't wake up?
No.
And he didn't plan on it.
I'd say more likely than not, he was just lying.
Lying, right?
Yeah,
and that's what, dude, and that is what fucking infuriates me with people like that. I don't like the lying because you see, I handle it differently than everyone else in the group. Like you just kind of let it. I mean, you get mad at him or say your shit. I want to know the facts. Like I get all fucking detective on him. Like Jonathan used to be that way.
Well, see, here's the thing. I've dealt with it so much more than you have between the two of them. And countless people in and out in the job that we do, I've dealt with it so fucking much. At this point, I just don't even fucking care anymore. It's like, what's your excuse this time? Okay, fine. I don't care. I don't give a shit.
Yeah.
It's like I've just been beaten down and broken to that point.
Yeah, it's interesting. You meet some people.
But also, sorry to cut you off.
Go ahead.
But also, you immediately see through the bullshit. Or at least I do. I don't pursue it like you do. You interrogate the motherfuckers. I'm just like, all right, fine, whatever. I know you're lying. I know you're full of shit. Whatever. Move past it. I'm done.
It's just the lies aren't smart enough or creative enough where I cannot fucking help myself.
Yeah.
One time he didn't show up. He was supposed to be at work. At what time was it? Was it like 7:15 he was supposed to meet?
For the sake of the story, let's just say 7:30.
Okay, 7:30. Supposed to meet somebody at 7:30. What time did he eventually text him saying that? Wasn't it like after 12? It was like 2 p.m. or some shit. It was late that he finally texted him. It was after 12, but it might have been as late as 2 p.m.
Probably.
And he was saying that he just slept through it. Like, that is such an insane lie. That I'm not saying there's nobody out there that's ever slept that far past when they were supposed to wake up. But like, all right, I don't know about you. What time would be the earliest you could go to bed and randomly not wake up to go pee, to like roll over? You realize it's light in your room, like until 2 p.m.
Dude,
I've never done it.
If it's a weekday, my internal clock has just gotten so used to the daylight in my room. Even if I forget to set my alarm, I'm still like, my eyes are pinned open at 6 o'clock. Like, oh fuck, I slept. I didn't set my alarm, or I slept through my alarm.
But you've definitely slept through an alarm before, right? Like there've been times where you've been out. Same situation as he's telling.
Plenty of times.
It's never been like 5 hours later. No. Like this would be 7 hours later. Like you slept 7 hours past the time you were supposed to meet the person. Like, hold on, let's take it even it gets even crazier, because this is the way my mind works. It's not like you were supposed to get up at 7:30. You were supposed to be at the job at 7:30. Yeah. Now we got to back it fucking up an hour. Now we got to say the earliest, like the latest 6:30 would have been the latest you would have set your alarm for. And in traffic, I don't know.
I'll tell you this. I've slept through my alarm so many times at this point that I set 2 alarms.
Yeah.
So I set one at, let's just say 5:30 at what time I want to wake up. And then I'll set another one at 6 just in case I sleep through that. But I always, before I started doing that, I would always wake up about 45 minutes to an hour after my alarm went off.
Yeah. Do you think he's gay, Hunter? That's another thing I wanted to ask him. Do you think he's a little gay?
No.
No?
No, not at all.
Okay.
I did it first.
I was wondering.
I did when
the third wheel photos? Do you think he liked the other Hunter?
Yep. I did it first. When the three of us started working together, I was a little unsure, because when we would start doing like the labor construction talk and like talking shit about girls and that kind of stuff, he never had anything to say.
No.
But he's not.
He's not.
No.
Okay.
Like I said, he pulls some hot chicks.
Yeah. Well, that's at least he's got something going for him. I mean, his dad's proud of something. His son's got some good tail coming in. It's good. That's my boy.
That's the one shining spot.
Yeah. No, I don't know. I mean, I know he's probably going to listen to this. That's why I wanted to just.
Here's the thing. I do like Hunter. I do like him. But like you were saying, it's easy to shit on him, and especially in this situation, it's even easier to shit on him.
Yes.
But I don't know. I lost my fucking train of thought.
Oh, I just want to go on record to say
like
that
him.
you do like him.
Yeah.
I'm going to go on record and say that Steve
Thanks, Mike,
does
thanks.
like Hunter.
I do like him.
As far as I'm going to go on the record about liking Hunter.
And that's he'll get a boner.
Diesel
over
would
that.
probably like him.
Probably not.
No. Because it would take up his studio spot.
Yeah.
He'd have to go in the other room.
Well, no, we'd put the dog on the chair and put him on the dog bed.
On the dog. Double sit.
I guess. Yeah, the double
If
sit.
a dog was sitting down and someone told you had to sit on it, would you piggyback it or would you face away from it and sit back onto the slope? That would probably be the best, right? Would you face away?
Away? So, like, the dog's face is looking into the back of your head?
No.
I don't understand what you're saying.
Okay, so if a dog was sitting, like when you tell a dog sit, how they sit with their butt down and the front up,
Yeah.
would you, and somebody said you had to sit on them, would you sit on them like you were riding their back? Or would you sit on them with your, like, butt?
Like chest, dog chest to person back?
Your chest is facing the direction of their tail.
Oh,
And
so
you
you would
sit
like
back to
straddle them behind?
Well, how would you sit on a dog if somebody said, all right, here's your seat. All the seats are taken. The dog's going to sit there. You can sit on the dog. And there's a mic. It's this perfect level. So when you're seated on the dog, would you think it'd be easier to sit? Do you get what I mean?
Not really, but keep going. I'll figure it out. I'll pick
I
up
just
the
had
pieces.
an image in my head of somebody sitting on a dog, and then I was like, you would probably think to sit on them like you're riding their back. Like you're riding them, right?
Yeah.
But it probably would make more sense if the dog was sloped and you set your butt, so your back was kind of perpendicular to theirs.
No,
you know?
I think the riding scenario is the best one. Because the angles work out better that way.
I don't know.
Because
We'll
you sit up straight and the dog sits sloped.
Huh.
So it's like that.
But if you sit with your back to them and your butt comes in, it's like the perfect angle for you to really sit back into the dog. Like it gives you more support. If you're just riding him, you might like crotch down him, just slide down your crotch. No good grip. Maybe you need some like inner thigh grips. Just in case we have a guest and we want them to sit on Diesel. It's just an option.
Well, you know what, Mike? We'll cross that bridge when we come to it.
Yeah.
When a guest has to sit on the dog.
Mm-hmm. That's what we'll do with Hunter when he does officially be in studio. We'll figure that one out.
No, we'll make him sit in like the fucking bathtub or something.
Are we going to invite him back on ever?
Dude, he goes, essentially, there's this one guy that's getting married next weekend. He's like, after that wedding, I got you. Like, dude,
thanks for the hookup.
You don't make the fucking demands.
Thanks, dude.
Yeah, thanks. You're doing us a favor. Thank you.
Thank you, Hunter. We can schedule another one and then just rip you the first. That's what we have to do. I think if we should have a rule on this show. If you no-show us, we spend the first part talking about how you no-showed us, what things we don't really like about you.
Yeah, we're just going to pick you the fuck apart.
One of us might go on record to say we actually like you, and that's about it. And then we'll move on.
Well, actually, one of us might go on record for the other person saying that they like you.
And then, and if you do that, I might have to go on record to say I don't agree with that, but that's Steve's record.
At least it's on record.
It's on record.
Regardless, at least it's on record.
All right. That's a record scratch.
Is that what that
We're
is?
changing. It's like that's how a DJ does it. That's a segue. That's a DJ segue. Record scratch.
You can just like give me a wink and a point or something, and then I can just put that in and post.
Yes.
You don't have to make that noise.
Okay. Yeah. Well, I like it.
Okay, we'll leave it.
Do you think there's a podcast out there that just has a sound effects guy?
Yeah, dude, that's what producers are.
No. I know people run a soundboard. I mean, like a police academy. I'm talking about a make sound with their mouths. What do you call
Michael
that?
Winslow?
Is that Foley work?
Foley is
sound effect stuff.
Yeah.
It's not all by the mouth, but it could be if you were good at it.
I guess so, yeah.
So like a
Technically, I
vocal
guess.
foley worker. We should look into that.
Michael Winslow.
Dude, if we had somebody in studio just to do that.
We could probably get him for pretty cheap. Just like give him a. I mean, what the fuck's he doing now?
I have no idea, dude.
We could probably give him.
Is he
like,
even alive? Is that his name, Michael Winslow?
I'm pretty sure.
I mean, if he's that famous where you know his name, he probably is going to come here.
Yeah, but I mean,
All right, Steve's looking him up. Michael Winslow. There we go.
That's a intro for another podcast.
That's the
I was
intro.
listening to.
We do our intro music off the record. We just play that for a couple minutes and get ready, and then we say, all right, record, and we do our own intro music that usually is not on the air.
Yeah, it's just for us.
Yeah.
All right, let's see.
Michael Winslow.
Yeah, that's him. Michael Winslow.
What does it say? How old is he? 65.
That's probably right. I'll look it up real quick.
It's probably not. I mean, it depends on your definition of right. If
right 60.
Is 60. Okay.
That's what I meant. Probably right.
Yeah,
Close
range,
enough.
Yeah, yeah. You know what? You can actually just put the Google away. Sounds good. We're gonna go with 65.
Yeah. So I think we could give him like
Oh, cool! A June birthday.
an Aries.
Yeah,
I have no fucking clue.
I don't know. Oh, that dude. You know what? You mentioned that. Unless you were going to take it in a direction, there is something I thought about talking about.
Okay, cool. Because I got a couple points too. We could go over.
Okay, cool. You brought up zodiac signs. It got brought up to me recently. The girl I'm dating mentioned something about somebody asking my zodiac sign, and she's like, I don't, she knows when my birthday is, but she's like, I don't really know zodiac signs. And I was like, thank God you are not super into zodiac
Well,
stuff.
we talked about this before with the chick with the crystals and stuff.
Yes, but I'm going to ask you, not about zodiac specifically. I was curious, what is the most kind of supernatural, magical element of life that you've ever experienced or you believe in? It could be something like
Ghosts, 100%.
You 100% believe in ghosts.
I've seen them.
Okay. But is that enough proof? I mean,
they say seeing is believing. So
Okay.
What else do you want from me?
No, it's good. How much of a C are we talking?
Like I've seen multiple. So I grew up in a farmhouse that was built in I think it was like 1809.
Okay.
Is when it was built. And the original owner of that house died in the place. And there were like slave quarters and shit on the property. And I've seen like apparitions and full figured figures.
What's an apparition? Is that like a Native American?
Yep. Apparition.
Did they have like the feathers in? I mean, how did they look?
No. Oh, okay. So one
kind of clear.
Yeah. There's one time specifically where I saw a clear face of a woman. I was sitting there watching TV, and old farmhouses are sectioned off just like room by room. They're not like new houses where it's a wide open floor plan. It's like you have to walk through rooms to get to other rooms. It's just like squares on top of each other.
Yeah.
And I was sitting in our like family room area. That's where the TV was. And it was like 9:00 at night. My parents were upstairs sleeping. I don't know if I said this, but I was in like 9th or 10th grade. And the stairwell was right next to the doorway of this room.
Okay.
And for whatever reason, I kind of looked and looked at the doorwell, and there was a woman standing there, like looking at me, like peering over or like peering around the door frame, looking into the fucking room.
Weird.
And I wasn't drunk. I wasn't on any kind of drugs. It was a reasonable hour at night, and it just scared the ever living shit out of me.
Was that the first time?
I don't know if it was the first time, but it was one of a few times.
Okay. It's crazy. Have you ever had anything you experienced where somebody else is with you? It's always like solo encounters.
For the most part, it's been Actually, no. It's been solo. It was never. There was never like a second person there.
Yeah.
And I will say this: anytime that anything's happened, it's been like I said before, stone cold sober, nothing in my system.
Yeah. It's I mean, honestly, as far as sobriety goes, I mean, even if you were a little drunk or if you were stoned, I mean, to literally see something like that in a room that has no effect and when nothing else seems inebriated, that is, regardless of whether or not you're fucked up, you're going to feel weird about that, you know?
And when that figure looked through, that woman looked around the corner, she was like white and there was no backlight. So it was like there was nothing that could be construed. There was no other light coming from the back to kind of fuck that up, or nothing that could make a shadow in the doorwell. It was weird, dude.
Is there anything else that you kind of have experienced other than ghosts specifically?
Just like sounds and stuff.
Just sounds.
Yeah.
But a ghost, like things that would remind you of.
Yeah. Another one that really didn't fuck me up, but it scared the shit out of me was, so our attic was right above my bedroom, obviously. My bedroom's on the second floor, attic's on the third. And it was just a normal stairwell up into the attic. And we had a drum kit set up there. This is like 11 o'clock at night. I'm laying in bed watching TV. I hear footsteps slowly walking up the stairs because the stairs backed up to my wall.
Mm-hmm.
And the head of my bed was directly on that wall. And I heard the footsteps going up the stairs. And then they kind of stopped for a second. I got fucking goosebumps talking about this, dude. It was a real thing. Like, this wasn't.
Well, I'm not saying you didn't experience it. Well, how do you know that? That's a bold conclusion. You wouldn't be the one who knows if it's a figment of your imagination.
So, the footsteps walked up the stairs. It was like 10 stairs, a landing, 5 stairs. And then there were 2 other rooms in the attic. And then where the drum set was set up, I heard one of the fucking cymbals crash. Like someone had hit it. And there were no like bookshelves or shit hanging from the ceiling. There was nothing that could have made that cymbal make that noise.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, no, I've heard, you're not the first person who's told me a story like this. I expected a story like this when you said ghosts. So it's not that I am overly skeptical. Of course, if I've never experienced something like that, I don't know. I mean, it's easier for me to be like, it could have been an animal, could have been a mouse.
Yeah.
Could have been,
well, see, honestly, you said mouse. I thought it was a mouse.
Okay.
And the next day I went up and kind of investigated, and I don't know where the fuck a mouse could have come from. The only way a mouse could have hit the cymbal, and a mouse is a soft thing.
I got you.
So it'd be like a soft mallet hitting the cymbal as opposed to a drumstick. This sounded like a drumstick.
I understand.
And there were no holes in the ceiling above it or anything. It was just...
No, it's fascinating. I think that stuff like that definitely could happen. As far as I don't think you're initially wrong, or it's not like I would, gun to my head, I wouldn't know what to say. I would say you probably experienced it. What do I think it is? I don't know. I would probably tend to believe that maybe stuff like that happens within people's perceptions that are real things. I'm not so sure it's a communal thing. I'm not so sure it's something that could be captured on a photograph or a bunch of people could be around and see it. That seems a little crazy to me. Maybe it's something that could show itself to multiple people. It's odd to me that everyone immediately jumps to ghost, but I don't know. Not that you do, but it's funny how, like, I don't know what I would think if I saw a shadowy figure. I mean, I know everyone's like, that's what they're ghosts and aliens are like the 2 normal things to gravitate towards.
And there's obviously your brain plays tricks on you.
Yes.
And there's times where you can think you saw something and you can just chalk it up to, I just turned my head real quick. But the figure I was talking about, I looked at that thing for like 30 seconds.
Well, I would imagine that you did see it. I imagine that you did see something that is not just a trick or just a hallucination completely.
No, because your mind will fuck with you. And I actually pretty sure I learned this because I went to school for audio engineering. I learned this in school that when you're in like outside in the dark by yourself, your brain will fuck with you and make you think that you hear things.
Yeah.
Because your brain's a powerful thing.
Oh yeah, only what we know about it. You know, that's the thing is there's only what we know and can experience that we can draw from. But these are things that we don't understand that happen and don't make logical sense. And it's easy just to say it's stupid. My biggest problem with that scene is there are so many people that see it as low hanging fruit to grab, like. It's always some fucking person who it's like the psychic person is the tarot card person is the this, and they don't got shit going for them.
That's just that shit. That stuff's a scam.
Yeah, I know, and that's the problem is there's so many scams. Like, do you believe in the integrity of like ghost hunting people?
No,
none of it. It's all bullshit, right? Pretty much. I mean, all of it.
I mean,
99% of it.
I don't know, but for sure. Not for sure. I would say it's bullshit.
I would go so far as to say that if you hook people up to a lie detector test, I bet, like, especially right after they told the story for the first time, because I don't know what crazy people can convince themselves over time, because that's a whole nother psychology thing.
Because if you keep telling yourself the same story over and over, then you'll eventually believe it, and it eventually becomes your reality.
Yes.
Like that actually happened to you. And I think there's been studies done about that.
Prison, I think they do it with prison and stuff, or something about, I heard something about that one time, something about people going to jail and then telling a story, and then the story they tell becomes true to them, even though it doesn't match up.
Yeah. I think that might be it.
But I don't know. There's a bunch of stuff like that, and they come to those conclusions. It's hard for me to talk about it to people I don't respect. But I'm that way with a lot of stuff. You know, there are people that make you question things because you respect the way they think and perceive, and they're not people who are extremely quick to talk about things like that and buy into things like that. That's why it's fascinating when you have a ghost story and it's not when it's, you know.
Well, and that's because you and I are kind of similar in the fact that, well, at least I do, and I'm pretty sure you do too. I always look at everything with a level of skepticism. Like, are you fucking with me, or are you being for real? And then I'm going to listen to that person tell their story and figure out if they're full of shit or not.
And I think you would rather exist and react to what truth is and not create a total fictional tale, especially at our age with our wisdom.
Yeah.
The part of you that wants to make up shit that's not true is just kind of lost, right?
Yeah. I try not to embellish stories. I mean, for dramatic effect, I'll embellish a little aspect of it, but I'm not going to make up the whole fucking story from start to beginning. I mean, from start to end.
Yeah, no, it's an interesting one, man. I don't know what I think of that stuff. I have never experienced anything that's just like come out of the blue like that.
Yeah.
Like I've always told people that the only thing magical that I have undoubtedly experienced as far as like magical or mystical or supernatural is just psychedelia, just stuff that has to do with psychedelics. That's the only aspect of anything that gives me any sort of magic. I've had like weird things for a while. I remember I was on a streak of driving where I would pass a car and think it was somebody, and then like 2 cars later, the person that I thought was driving that vehicle would be driving a different vehicle and pass me, and I knew it was them.
That's weird.
So like I would think I would see somebody, and then I would see them.
I think
that happened a lot to me.
I think that could be chalked up to like deja vu, which is deja vu is a weird fucking thing because it's like your mind taking a picture and then making it think that it happened, but it really just happened. Like it happened weeks, months, years in the past, but it really just happened.
It's very interesting. I don't know that I've had like stark deja vu where some people do, like they're somewhere very specific and important and they're like, I've been here, dude, or I've known this feeling, or like, what the fuck? That I've never had that thick of a level of it, but I definitely find myself, like the whole thing, you learn a new word and then it pops up everywhere.
Yeah.
And you're like, what? How did I never recognize this word or hear this word?
Or
and
like,
now all of a sudden it's everywhere.
If you're looking at a specific type of car that you're about to buy,
Right.
and you see it on the road all of a sudden everywhere.
I've experienced a lot of extreme versions of that, like things that it's hard to explain. The only explanation I could come up with is that there must be times where maybe your mind just is running so many thoughts at one time, you can barely even process all of the things that you're thinking about until you see something that reminds you of what you were thinking about.
Yeah.
Like you might be juggling it at one time, like your mind's just open and you're juggling 100 people that you went to high school with generally, maybe not, but like then you happen to see one of them and it reminds you that you thought of them.
Yeah.
But you might just think of thousands of people. I don't know. That's the only thing I could think of when you have that extreme of a coincidence. Like it's been so much that there are so many times I don't even want to ask where somebody has been. When I'm at like the MMA gym, I don't even want to talk about somebody who's not in the room or anything. They come like, like if you say like, where's so-and-so been? I haven't seen them in months. Boom, they walk in the door. But I mean, that's not an extreme one because people experience that kind of stuff a lot. Mm-hmm. And I think everyone has experienced it to a point, or most people have experienced it to a point where they even have to remind themselves like, okay, it probably isn't anything crazy, but was that something crazy? Like, I think that's everybody taps into a little bit of that. And I do believe in a collective unconscious to a degree. I believe that there are times where I have had like, jinxing, like where everyone's kind of tapped into people's minds. Like what I say, unconscious, subconscious is what I mean. Like a collective, I guess it's a collective subconscious. It's your subconscious is connected to other people, and then it can trigger thoughts, or it's just collective consciousness. I don't know. One guy talks about it, and he calls that morphic resonance, which is like this energy that I guess glues us together, is his theory. And you hear things about weird things, like they'll use studies where if and this gets a little off topic and we don't want to go down this lane too much because I'm no expert, but there are like studies like this, say a fishing lure on the East Coast, once it comes out on the East Coast and it's super effective, if they introduce it to the West Coast, fish there might already be a step ahead of that lure. Rat poison is the same thing. Rat poison constantly has to change. It's like,
I think that can be chalked up to reasonable explanations of
I don't know, dude. Well, there's a lot of studies about it. I'm not doing the best example. Here's a crazy one. Carrier pigeons, and cream. For the longest time in some part of Europe, they put cardboard or like that kind of stuff, cream, in like a container on top of your milk, I guess you would get it at that time. And eventually these pigeons or some type of bird, I don't know why I said carrier pigeons, but just some type of bird learned that you could peck it and get
Mike Tyson's on the top of a building in New York City with carrier pigeons.
Yeah,
and
but
cream.
So for years they were using this, right? And didn't have a problem. Once one figures it out, they all figure it out, of course, right?
Hold on. Set it up again. So there's a glass bottle of milk with cream on top of it?
In a cardboard container or something you could peck through.
Oh, okay.
Some sort of container that you could peck through.
I got you.
And once they did, they all did. Well, something happened and there was a war. I know I'm butchering this story, but the point stays the same. There was something where they stopped using those for years and years and years due to something like something to do with a war, I think, and like a military thing and like a supply and demand thing. Well, long story short, they bring these things back out and immediately these birds know about it and get the cream right away. Same thing with like birds in another area where they start using them. The rat poison thing has a similar type of thing where once an animal figures something out, everyone can kind of figure it out, even if they're not in the same area, the same region. There's no way to pass it on. This is the study that now I'm remembering one study that really kind of hammered home. They took rats and they had this sugary acid thing, and every time they would eat it, they would get shocked, right? So these male rats knew that. These male rats were then introduced to female rats, impregnated them, taken away. The baby rats came out with knowing not to do that. So that made people look into epigenetics, which means that some part of your DNA or something in your genetics gets passed through in your sperm, etc. And it was like they sunk a bunch of money into it. Well, anyway, this one guy has this theory of morphic resonance, which is this collective, and it explains so many unexplainable moments and deja vus and all of that, and like things that we kind of like. Have you ever said the same word as someone else at the same time, or had a thought at the exact same moment as somebody else, and it was like, dude, that was weird. Yeah, and it happens more often with people you're in tune with, or people you think alike.
Because you're around them. I didn't like how I said around. Yeah. But you're around them so often that there is a connection formed. I don't know what that connection is or how it's formed, but you, like you said, you are in tune with them. Like they become a part of you, you become part of them type deal. It's like living with somebody, regardless of who it is or your relationship to them. There is a part of you that becomes a part of them and vice versa.
Do you believe in like people being able to sense when something is wrong? Like, have you ever had an experience where like your mom calls you and she's like, is everything okay? Or I was worried, or she knew that something was wrong, or you hear people say that a lot, right? Yeah. Have you ever experienced anything like that?
Not really, outside of the fact of someone being like, hey, call me. And then like, oh, something's wrong, isn't it? Like, yeah, call me. But it's never been like a gut feeling that I've ever had that something's been wrong.
Yeah. Okay, I'll tell one quick story on this, and then we can move on to whatever. So, DMT, psychedelic, very powerful, produced in the brain. I wanted to bring that up for one thing, and then I wanted to tell a quick story on it. A lot of people theorize that the visions people get, especially at nighttime, involving UFOs, aliens, ghosts, and other sorts of things that can be chalked up as hallucinations and craziness and schizophrenia, oftentimes happen at night when your body is producing natural DMT. And DMT helps produce, I think it's involved in dreaming and other things. And it definitely takes you into a different type of mental state while you're sleeping. And it's produced in large amounts in near-death situations, high adrenaline situations, when you die, when you orgasm. It's produced when you breathe at different rates. You can increase it in your lungs, the liver, and the pineal gland. It's either theorized heavily or known to exist there. And in other animals, it's definitely known to exist there. That is the long story short with DMT. It's an odd thing that seems to be some sort of molecule that links people to a sense of spirituality, hallucinations that you just would never fathom, and things that are seemingly magical. That is that. And there, a lot of times when people bring up things like seeing things, hallucinating things on their own, the people who know about DMT are typically like, was it at night? Were you like half awake? Were you awake at a time you're usually asleep? There are all these sort of things, and maybe nobody knows the right answer because it's been so long. Those are things that people talk about. Regardless, I don't think that makes what you see any less real, so to speak, if that makes sense.
No, I can understand where you're coming from, because if you look at it from the perspective of, at that point in time, that's your reality that you're living in.
And is this thing making you hallucinate something that isn't there, or is it showing you something that is there that you normally cannot see? People who have done DMT, the same thing that is theorized to cause these sort of visions, people who have done it would usually argue it's not something that you just hallucinate. It's something you are kind of awake, you're woke
You're
to.
being
You're just opened up to, and
you're
it's
calling
there.
you're calling people trans.
You're opening up a door and taking a good look at something that is there that usually the door is closed.
You know, that makes a lot of sense. I've obviously not done a lot of research into that, but that's a pretty logical explanation.
Yes, I would never say that that's what happened because that doesn't. It's not as simple as that.
Yeah,
you know, but
that's a good bullet point to put underneath of a story that this is what could be happening.
So it brings me to something that reminds me. You saw somebody. You said you saw an Aborigine. All these things.
Yep.
What did you say you saw? Not an Aborigine. Is that what you said?
Aboriginal.
Okay.
Just a really dark person from Australia.
Yeah. So, my buddy, who's actually from Peru, where DMT is used spiritually and kind of culturally and in shamanic rituals that have been around since civilization there, I guess, in ayahuasca ceremonies. It's a tea that's brewed with DMT. I guess that's kind of the thing.
Is sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off. Is DMT or ayahuasca, is one of those referred to like as the god drug?
Yes.
Okay.
Both.
Okay.
The hallucinogen in in ayahuasca. Ayahuasca is a brew in which DMT becomes orally activated. You could not eat DMT and trip without something that kills this stomach acid. DMT is so insane, dude, that it is theorized to be in every single living thing that there is. In plants that it's in high amount, the acacia tree, they can send signals to other acacia trees letting them know, or like it's a bush or something, that if a deer comes up and eats one of them, it can tell an acacia tree, I think up to a mile away, to make itself taste more bitter so that a deer won't want to eat it. It can make itself taste bitter. And it has to do with
theory, or is
no,
this
that's proven, dude. 100% proven, I promise.
Okay.
And I might be butchering something slightly.
Yeah.
I don't know if it has to do with being upwind or something like that, but they know that plants communicate. Dude, when you look into mushrooms we're more like mushrooms than mushrooms are like plants.
We're more like mushrooms than we are apes.
I don't know if that's not, I don't know about that, but there's a theory. It gets even crazier. I officially am going on record. I just sound like a Joe Rogan podcast right now.
I was about to say, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Joe Rogan experience.
Yeah. But it just so happens that that's where I've gathered a lot of this information. No,
it's cool.
There's actually a theory that humans came from apes eating mushrooms, which rapidly sped up brain development, conscious thought, creation, self-awareness, etc. I don't want to go too far down all that. It doesn't matter a ton, but ayahuasca, either way, originated in Peru. DMT is the extract of this that comes in all these barks. Oh, every living thing. Grass has DMT in it.
Cool.
Yeah, crocodiles see with their pineal gland, and it produces DMT. They have an ability to see with it.
The pineal gland is also referred to as the third eye?
Yes.
Okay. In humans?
Yes.
Okay.
And we have a much more calcified pineal gland than people did back in the day, which means that there's a chance that if you were able to produce DMT through your pineal gland, through forms of meditation, through forms of breathing, even just what they call milking your pineal gland, which is like a physical act of like doing something with it. I don't know that as extensively, but it can cause people to have a similar thing. I mean, cave art looks the same when Aztecs draw it, as Egyptians draw it, as this, and they all kind of have this half animal, half human, alien-like, crazy flying devices, similar things to that you experience. And even the way the pyramids are and all that, it looks like DMT. Even crazier, the stuff you see on DMT is usually a lot of times, like you said, you saw like an ancient looking Native American type person.
No, you said I saw.
Oh, what did you just saw?
No, I thought you were making a joke.
I don't know what that
means.
I don't know the word. I get it mixed up.
Apparition.
Apparition is what?
Aboriginal. It's like that's the people in Australia. They're like the very dark skinned people in Australia.
Okay, I caught that when you said it, but what did you actually see? What is it?
I saw an apparition. So I saw a figure of a woman with very distinct facial features, very feminine facial features. I could see eyes, nose, mouth.
What is the definition of apparition?
I don't know. Let me look it up.
Well, so an apparition is like
I think an apparition just refers to
a silhouette of a person, a vision. It doesn't describe the person, does it?
Well, no, it doesn't. It's not a. Yeah, apparition, a ghost or ghostly image of a person.
Oh, okay. Okay. All right. Well, that clears that up.
Yeah.
I definitely fucked that up.
Mike just thought I had like half naked.
I'm not even going to tell the Peru
around.
story now. No. So my buddy does DMT for the first time. He's never tripped in his life, never done anything like that. He was always fascinated about it. His people always said that taking ayahuasca makes you face your fears and that you see, I don't know, you see other stuff. But that was the main thing he said about it. And
that was the soundboard I wanted to use for Anyway, sorry, dude. I didn't mean to cut you off.
Okay, so here it goes. He does DMT. And he says, well, one of the things he saw was this crazy flower that was just opening up, and he was like in it, and it was just so beautiful. Doesn't matter a ton. Then he saw this guy who was throwing like pointy things at him. And he said he was like this blue guy and was throwing these sharp objects that he couldn't touch. He was like, dude, they were so sharp. I was like worried that they were going to hit me, and I was getting pissed at this guy, and he just kept chucking sharp shit at me. I was like, fuck, dude. And then he starts to tell me another time he saw me. Well, I need to just cut to the chase with it. He then told me after we weren't in the group of people, he goes, bro, I need to tell you something. And I'm like, you know what? He goes, the guy I saw, man, I need to tell you, when I was younger, I was like 6. I was outside and I see a man, and he was little guy. He looked like an elf. And he goes, and he said that he was green. He's like, I saw the man, and we had a moment, and we just stood there looking at each other. And it was like, there was like they knew that each other saw each other. And this is when he was a kid.
Yeah.
And he's like, and he said it stuck with him forever.
Well,
and he said when he did the DMT, he said he saw that guy, but he was all grown up. He was still tiny like an elf, and he was blue now instead of green. And when he first saw him, he was like, oh my God, it was like the biggest feeling of deja vu. They both had this tender moment where they just stood there and looked at each other. And he said it was very emotional for him, like extremely emotional. And he doesn't know what or why. And he felt like he's like, I need to see that again and figure out what that was about.
Well,
it's like, whoa.
It doesn't. So him being like 6 years old and seeing this figure before even being introduced to ayahuasca or DMT. So isn't there kind of a theory floating around that with like dogs and young children, that maybe not so much dogs, but because kids, they're more receptive and more open to seeing things and being a part of the world, as opposed to like being molded into adults and what you're supposed to see, what you're supposed to hear, and like ghosts don't exist, like that kind of shit. As a child, you're just more receptive and more open to the world around you. So couldn't that, I think I just kind of got off topic or on a tangent a little bit, but couldn't that like fold into that story?
Oh, it definitely could. I mean, as a kid, lots of kids see stuff like that. Like kids have bizarre, there's a bunch of bizarre stories about kids claiming to be other people. Yeah. Like they have memories of other lives, and there's never been anything that's insanely proven, but there are definitely some compelling stories like that, man. Like if you're going to believe something, that one's a little more believable than some of the stuff that's out there.
I think if you're going to believe a lot of shit, probably the stuff coming from a children is a little bit, or from a child is a little bit more credible, because they're not as corrupt.
Yeah.
They're not, like, their minds aren't as corrupted as like ours are.
Right.
Like there's nothing to gain out of from a child saying that they saw this or they're this person, and they can describe the person to a T. There's no gain from that.
Yeah. Now hearing something like that, like what if you were to do DMT, and like immediately, could you imagine if you saw the same woman you saw in your house when you were in 10th grade, 9th or 10th grade? It would be a moment of moments. And then it would make you wonder if you have known this thing all of that time and it has known you in a weird way, right? Because like, why is it still there? What is it doing? That's a mind-blowing thing to have happen.
And here's the thing. I would recognize that figure right away because I can see it every time I close my eyes. If I know what it looked like. That's how clear it was. So,
and that type of conviction is something that I think anybody who has experienced something like DMT will walk away with, where no amount of somebody who hasn't experienced its logic matters.
Yeah.
Just like when you've experienced that and you've seen that and you're like, no, I stood there looking at it for 30 seconds. Yeah. No, I've never seen anything like that in my life. I've never been driving around and thought I saw a car that wasn't there or some bullshit. This was out of this world, and it just does not make sense for that to be the one hallucination of my life.
Yeah.
Like I could see how when you experience it, like you said, experiencing it is seeing is believing. I could really imagine when you do something like that, that validifies something in your life and ties it together years and years later. Like, what if every 10 years you saw that woman? That would be insane. Like every 5 to 10 years, you have another experience with her.
Yeah. I mean, that is another theory with like paranormal activity is that, spirits will get latched onto a person,
okay,
and just follow them. I mean, I'm not a religious person at all. I don't believe in heaven or hell. I don't believe in any of that stuff. But I do believe in an energy that when you die, your body leaves behind an energy, or could maybe doesn't, but you could leave behind an energy, and then maybe that whatever it may be, that energy could get attached to your physical energy for whatever reason.
Yeah.
And could hypothetically stay with you from wherever you go, from place to place. Not as a possession, because I don't, like I said, I don't believe in heaven or hell, so I don't believe in possessions. I think a lot of times that's just kind of bullshit, or just someone with a mental issue.
Yeah.
But I do, and that kind of ties back into what we were talking about, how if you and I spent enough time together, then we could somehow be linked mentally. So why wouldn't that be feasible, that the energy of somebody that died years ago that was left behind get attached to another person? Does that make sense?
If it's entirely possible.
Yeah.
My whole view is any of that is possible, and any explanation that even remotely makes sense is possible. Likely it is too hard to guess or to have any inkling as to which explanation is possible.
Yeah.
But I think you could come up with a bunch of theories like that are all like, yeah, I could believe that, or yeah, that does make sense. I mean, there are so many factors, but I would say that it makes sense. If I had to put my money on it, and there was some sort of legit spirit realm or like other thing where like you go that can tap into this world and all that there would be specific ones that have something to do with you. That each person has their own separate set, and maybe one that oversees it all too. But
and it's uniquely different to that person.
It might even be you in another realm, some sort of connection that you just don't understand here. But I think there's something like that. I think tapping into that pretty much explains most religions. And it doesn't need to be just through psychedelic drugs. Like I said, there are many ways to go into headspaces that come away with similar conclusions. Deep meditation, starvation, extreme cold, extreme heat, like dehydration. All of these things give people similar sort of things, and near-death experiences especially.
That, dude, that's near-death experiences, and people who have died and get brought back to life is something that fascinates me.
Me too.
It's such a I heard a story on the radio the other day about a guy, or it was a woman that got struck by lightning, woman or a man, whatever. But they were dead for 20 minutes, legally dead for 20 minutes. And the paramedics or whatever kept resuscitating them and hitting them with the defibrillator, and they came back. Like, that's a person I would like to talk to.
Right, yeah.
To figure out what that is about.
You can read a lot of it online. They've done a lot of there's a lot of compounded research with near-death experiences and common things. I do think that it's tapping into a similar thing. I think there are other things, like you said, kids being open to more things existing and maybe being able to see other ways, like dogs can pick up on magnetic fields and can see things that we don't, that can give off the type of emotion that's running through somebody, like the way they're feeling in a different way.
This dog in particular, he's very, and every dog, but he's very receptive to emotion and how a person's feeling. Because you've met him, he's very in your face and always is up in your shit. But if there's something off with you, he picks it up and he'll sit, just like kind of sit next to you type deal. If there's something going on.
I believe it. I don't know exactly what it is, but dogs really can do some crazy things.
And that shit's proven because they have seizure dogs that sense when a seizure's about to happen in people, and they have like cancer sniffing dogs and that kind of stuff.
Yeah, it's crazy, man. You know, birds have an odd ability to know which direction you're going to go. Like if you're walking somewhere with purpose and you know which way you're going to go, I don't know how I've heard this passed around enough times where I don't know exactly how they know this, but birds have an ability to sense where you're going to go upwards to 1.5 miles ahead of you. And they can go there and like wait for you to go there.
Well, that's easy to see when you watch a flock of blackbirds flying in the sky. When there's like 3,000 birds moving in unison. And I've actually heard, maybe this is wrong, I don't know, maybe I misheard, I really don't care. But there's a chemical that they emit. Because like when you watch 3,000 birds all of a sudden bank right, they're not talking to each other.
Chemtrails.
Yes.
Birds are emitting chemtrails.
The Illuminati is putting chemtrails in the birds. They've attached little biological weapons to the birds.
No, dude, birds are so fucking weird. I was watching not Animal Planet. Planet Earth. I was watching Animal Planet. No. And the season 2 of Planet Earth, one of them I think is Jungles or something. There was this bird that looked crazy, and it like, in order to attract itself to like a woman, like a female bird, the length in which it has to go through in order for all the stars to align that they find a mate. It's like, what an odd purpose and sense of duty and specific knowledge you have of what you're supposed to do. It was like they had to clear a way for the sun to peek through. Like, so they had to, I guess, trim like trees and get leaves out of the way to find a way to just light up themselves. And it was like a paradise bird or something. I don't know.
That shit, that's all relative though. Cause I mean, the way, like, yes, it's crazy that these animals go through all of these rituals, but then when you put it in the perspective of, if you're getting ready to go out on a Friday night and you're hypothetically single, what are you going to do? You're going to shower. You're going to go through all these rituals to attract a mate. It's just an animal instinct. I think it goes from animal to animal, and each ritual's different.
We are the least instinctual animal.
For sure.
Judging by what we assume other animals are consciously aware of, and the amazing things they still can do, like are hardwired to do, like the way a cat will figure out how to hunt and be able to do the things that it does, or just a house cat, that maybe has a lineage of domesticated whatever, and they'll do some miraculous stuff in that way. And then, birds, speaking off what animals can see, there's different types of brain waves, and there's like alpha and beta, which are very common brain waves for humans to run on. Mm-hmm. But then there's theta brain waves, which I can't get overly specific, familiar. But it's a type of thinking that when you're like in the present and when you're in a primal state, you run on. So you're not reacting to things with like an anxious or proactive or thought out manner and reflecting and all that.
It's more like an animalistic instinct.
And other animals sense when you are doing that, and they will then open up to you in a different way. And that is a lot of explanation where you do hear so many people being like, dude, I was super stoned, or I was on mushrooms or whatever, and this fucking animal came up to me, like, and everyone's like, dude, it's because you're fucked up. It's like, yeah, but I've been drunk around a dog. A dog isn't like, oh my God, are you okay? And then birds flying up to you, and animals do crazy shit to people who are tripping. Crazy shit, dude.
I think animals are very sensitive.
They pick up on something.
Yeah.
Very much so.
I'll tell you another story about an Aboriginal. This one wasn't so much of like seeing something. This was more audible. But it involves a dog, and it involves them being more in tune to the surroundings and stuff like that. So same farmhouse, sitting in my bedroom, sitting at the computer, and I start hearing all these knockings like in the upper corners of the room. And this was back in the AIM days. So I'm fucking around on AIM at like 11 o'clock at night. And then I look back, and I'm watching my dog, and his head would like dart to the left, and he'd be looking up at where the ceiling meets the wall, and then I'd hear a knock, and then he'd look to the right, like complete opposite directions. It's not like it was just going in a circle around the corners of the ceiling and wall.
Yeah,
it was like left, right, hard turns. Not in sequence type deal.
Yeah.
Just bouncing around the room, and everywhere he would look, about 2 seconds later, there'd be a fucking knock on the wall.
Must have smelled something?
Or
sense that it was like what do you think it was?
I have no clue what it was. That's something that I can't explain.
Dude, it's so weird. You know what makes that really fucking weird to me? Is that like the same dog that picks up on that, you'll be taking them for a walk and they'll be shocked that a bunny was there the whole time.
Yeah.
It's like, you didn't smell that fucking bunny and we were right next to it. You got surprised to see the bunny, but like you can pick up on this scent that it's crazy the way some dogs smell and the way they are aware of things. And the same dog will be totally oblivious sometimes.
Yeah. That I can't chalk up to like a supernatural experience, but it was crazy. And it wasn't like a light little tap. It was like a...
Oh, chill. We got Diesel over here.
The over anxious boxer. Yeah, it was like a loud knocking, and I don't know what the fuck it was. I didn't see anything. I just saw the reaction of the dog and the noise. So...
All right, so question. Do you want to just talk another 10, 15 minutes on supernatural type stuff, or did you have something you wanted to get to?
I mean, I had some like bullshit like observational stuff just that I had written down. Let me see what I got. Or
I was listening to a podcast today, and it was these guys talking about something near Area 51. It was like alien based.
Dude,
made me think of supernatural shit.
That, like alien stuff, supernatural stuff, anything under that umbrella, conspiracies, that stuff captivates me.
Yeah. It really does when it's convincing and the person seems like to have integrity, and there's a lot of stories, or, like a guy like, that Alex Jones guy.
Yeah.
I mean, he's a
InfoWars,
nutcase.
yeah.
He's a nutcase, dude. But sometimes he says stuff that gets right.
Well,
where it's like, man, what does he write about that sounds crazy?
It's funny that we kind of jumped to conspiracies, because that's something that I've had written down for a while.
Okay.
And
are you into one?
Not one specifically. I'm just
all of them.
I love a good conspiracy, because I heard it explained like this. People love conspiracies because they want to see how bad things can be.
Yeah.
And how bad things can get.
That's why I like a lot of my favorite movies.
Yeah.
How bad can we imagine shit to be?
Old Yeller.
Yeah. Yeah.
So like on Instagram, you know how you have that explore page?
Yeah.
So a lot of stuff that pops up in mine is conspiracy based stuff.
Okay.
And then like when all the Pizzagate shit was going on, I'm like, there's no fucking way that this is true, because this is just so fucking sadistic and terrible.
Yeah.
But then recently it just broke the I won't say recently, because that might not be true. But the dude who did Top of the Pops.
That's the name of a documentary?
No. Oh. It was the name of the show. And I actually, this is, it was like one of the minute clips off of the Joe Rogan Experience that popped up in my feed that I started watching. This guy like raped like 500 kids. And it's documented and confirmed.
Ugh.
So when I start hearing like, I was like, Pizzagate can't be real. Like these people aren't sacrificing and killing children to drink their blood for adrenochrome or whatever the fuck it is. But then you hear stories that it's like,
yeah, but have you ever tried adrenochrome? It's like really good shit, dude. Once you got a taste or something, like crackheads are willing to steal from their parents, man. You get your hands on some adrenochrome, you'll do anything for it.
It's just
we eat veal. Fuck it.
Yeah.
No, that's crazy, dude.
It's wild. And
stuff's hard to hear about. It's weird up top, man. And people have so much integrity with like people in power and politics and stand by that shit creeps me out. All the sex kid shit that's out there, and like,
well, that's the sex kid stuff is one instance, but then just the overarching, like Bohemian Grove and all that kind of stuff. It fascinates me because I so badly want that shit to be real, but then again, I don't want it to be real.
Yeah.
Because I want all the major like powerful politicians in this world or in the United States, wherever, just going to a place in California and just fucking each other. But then again, I don't want that to be the case.
I think what we can definitely agree on is we would like it to be exposed if it's real.
Yeah.
If it's real, we would like it to be like proven, sent home, like to a T. I had a thought on this not long ago. I was thinking about all the Harvey Weinstein stuff. People were talking about him, you know what he did. And it made me think about like, you know, what you can get away with at a local small level, because there was a couple people who got busted who owned MMA gyms or martial arts gyms or jujitsu gyms, or there was a couple people who got outed as being sexual predator type people.
In Maryland?
In PA, maybe one in like Western Maryland or Virginia. And then there is a school that is affiliated with a guy. Then there's some rape culture history in him. There's been rumors of gyms that are in Brazil, you know, the origins of not at a Gracie school, but I've heard stuff before, and it's rumors. You don't know what's true. You don't know what isn't. But then you see like the level of power that you have when you own a gym. It's like a small cult-like following.
Yeah,
you can get away with some things.
Yeah.
Then there's like the next tier, or like a couple tiers up. Then you get into the kind of shit that happens at Penn State, that happens with Harvey Weinstein, right?
And that's
what's it like at the top? Take a power jump, dude.
Dude, that's what I'm talking about. Even at the Penn State level, the amount of cover-up that went went on with all
Right.
that. And none of this is original. These aren't like original statements that I'm making. A million people have said the same shit over and over again. It's crazy to me that can happen, has happened, and the cover-ups that are involved with it.
It's bizarre, and it's something about, I think when you're high up like that, man, you can just cause so much damage. And once you're willing to do it, and once you have the power at your fingertips to do what you want, like, you just give a guy like that power. Like, what would happen if the dude if Jerry Sandusky was president? What would happen if he was even higher up than what he was
and had more influence? It's just and then there's another funny. I think it's funny, but there's another conspiracy about rappers that tied into their contracts. They're essentially forced to partake in homosexual activities, and that shit is videotaped, and then they just hold it over their heads. Like, it's like,
I think that shit will wind up on World Star. There'd be like 1 or 2 leaks.
But see, like, I think it's so funny that could be a thing, and someone would make up that story, but it's like the stuff that is coming out that is proven to be true.
It's okay, dude. It's not on my real phone. It's on my burner.
It's like I don't know, conspiracies. Yeah. I just love conspiracies, and I love forming my own opinions about them.
Yeah, it's fun. It's definitely fun. It's scary sometimes,
but because there is some shit that's like been proven, and you're like, oh fuck, this is the Jerry Sandusky thing.
Yeah, I mean, if you're looking at like child stuff, I mean, you saw what the power of the Catholic Church was able to do and cover up, both do and cover up. You could definitely see how things that a lot of people know about stay hush hush. We're in the era and generation of everything being exposed, but it's still only so exposed.
Exactly. Yeah.
It's not all out there yet. We're discovering some crazy stuff all the time.
It's slowly coming out, and it's wild.
Dude, I heard something about this the other. How in the hell? I read a list of artists that R. Kelly has worked with since everything that has happened with him, because he had another go around with stuff. Like, he was involved in a sexual ring or something.
Did you watch the that documentary?
No.
Crazy.
On R. Kelly?
Yeah.
Can you believe that famous musicians and people want to work with him and do songs with him? Because
after that shit came out, man, his music surged. Like, and that's the terrible thing about Hollywood is it's monetary, man. It doesn't give a fuck. Like, your image doesn't matter. It's all about the money. As soon as that Surviving R. Kelly documentary came out, the plays on Spotify skyrocketed. There's no shame.
But if you're a musician, why would like Lady Gaga? Why would you want to work with R. Kelly?
Lady Gaga worked with
R. Kelly? I think
she
was on the list of people since stuff has come out of people who've worked with him. What
are we talking about? Are we talking about the release of the documentary?
I don't know if it has to do with the documentary, but there's.
Or are we talking about like in the last 15 years?
I'm not just talking about since he peed on a girl. I'm talking there was more stuff that came out. Like, he was involved in like a child sex ring that was. This has been known about for at least a handful of years, right?
Yeah.
Few years.
The peeing on video. I mean, that's
old.
That's got to be like 15.
Something else happened with him. You kind of knew who he was. It wasn't just one instance.
Nah, the writing was on the wall.
Yeah, so it's an odd thing to want to work with a guy like that who's done that shit. It's bizarre the way Hollywood and at that level of power.
I think when you get to that level of celebrity, you're beholden to the contract, not yourself anymore. So it's like if you're an artist and you're signed to a label, you're pretty much going to do whatever the fucking label tells you to.
Yeah.
Or actor outside of music. If you're an actor, I mean, you're going to go where the money is, or else they're going to fucking ruin you.
Yeah, yeah. That's the thing. There's the fear. There are a lot of people who I brought up how Pauly Shore is commonly talked about as being extremely inappropriate as a person. He has security guards who will go out, and I've heard this multiple times. And one time it was somebody, it happened to them. They were telling it to me as fans of comedy.
A first-hand experience.
A security guard came up to a table where a guy and his wife were seated, and the security guard went up to the woman and said, Pauly saw you from the audience and thought you were extremely attractive and wanted you to come back, right in front of the husband.
Dude, that's not
bad. I know that's not bad.
No, I'm saying that's not an isolated incident. I mean, bands like Motley Crue and shit.
I know, dude.
Their security would go out and pick out the hottest chicks in the crowd and be like, "Hey, come backstage."
Right. A lot of them underage, and I've heard things about Pauly Shore that aren't as for sure that are man, that happened, and that's just at a Magooby's Joke House. That's just a normal thing that happens. And these things, when you start going down Google or it's not like everybody's exposed who's a monster. A lot of people knew Louis C.K. was probably who he was before that shit. People talk about that. Andy Dick is another one. He's one. Everyone's like, dude, they've seen him out with 13, 14-year-old boys or something.
Oh, really?
Apparently, people have made comments of seeing him out in public with underage kids.
Do you think it doesn't
at some point in time?
Do you think it doesn't get as much press because he's not as high profile as most people?
No idea. I don't know if it just does. I don't know what it is, man. It's bizarre to me.
Or see, it's that kind of stuff where I don't want to believe, but when people start talking about the Illuminati and that kind of shit, it's that kind of stuff that comes out, the story you just told. You hear about it, but it's not widely publicized. So who's keeping it quiet? There's a higher.
I just brought up how Kevin Hart had that thing with the prostitute. There's a video of Kevin Hart doing sex shit with a prostitute type woman. I think she's a prostitute, and it was a drug thing too. And he's a family dude. He's got But Tiger Woods does what he does, and look how he gets buried for years. And then somebody like Kevin Hart does that. There's a video, and no one really gives a shit and even knows about it. And I didn't know about it. I know. It's bizarre to me, the things that people latch onto, or the things that gain traction and the things that don't, or things that people kind of let hush hush. I don't know,
because there's a puppet master.
Something.
And it may not be one particular person, but there's a larger group of people, especially in the Hollywood world, controlling everything.
Maybe there's just a bunch of groups like that. If you're high up in the Freemasons, if you're high up in Scientology, if you rub elbows with the right politicians, I don't know what, but there's certain power structures that are out there.
Oh, for sure. For sure.
Yeah.
It's naive to think that there aren't.
And that in our lifetime, I know for sure. And after this, you say what you want, and then we probably got to wrap up.
Okay.
I know for sure that within the next 10 years, there will be several discoveries, exposés, whatever, that will have our jaws so far through the floor, we will not believe what the fuck is happening, and it's out there. It's not just a theory. It's not just the Earth's flat. Oh, everyone, the government says. I think that in this day and age, with countries that leak things, that emails that get leaked and stuff, there's gonna come hard recorded evidence of people doing absolutely insane shit. You're going to turn on the TV and you're going to see Joe Biden in some circle, and there's a fire pit that's shaped like a pentagram, and he's jerking some little boy off. That sounds crazy, but I'm not saying it'll be that. It might be that aliens have been living here. Something crazy is going to get discovered.
Dude, I completely agree. And what'd you say, 10 to 15 years?
10 years, I think. I think 10 years' time.
I think your timeline's too long.
Well, I said there will be a few things.
Yeah.
In that 10 years, it's going to touch on a little bit of everything, I think.
Based strictly on the fact of that how our society is so connected to the internet now, and like how hackers are taking over shit, the government's going to get smarter, but the hackers are going to get even smarter.
Yes.
So like all the WikiLeaks stuff, I mean, how long ago was that? 10 years?
Yeah.
And yeah, I'm in 100% agreement with you, but I think it might be sooner.
All the talk is that aliens. I hear a lot of people talking about how that the government, like New York Times, has released certain things, other things. I think that, but I don't know. And then, of course, the true conspiracy theorists are like, that's a decoy. The real shit is out there, and it's a distraction.
Yeah,
they're going to talk about this.
False flag type shit.
I don't know, but I bet you that one of them has to do with that. One of them is going to be a thing like Scientology times 20. Like an Illuminati, finding out that the Freemasons actually are really crazy at the top, or something extremely nutty that is just even more shocking than we would ever believe, more shocking than North Korea being what it is, or any expose. There's going to be stuff exposed unlike anything that's ever been exposed.
Dude, I can't wait.
We're just scratching at the balls. Yeah. When we hear these things, dude, when we hear them and they get talked about, so many of them you can just throw out the window. So much of that Alex Jones bullshit, the fucking flat earth people, all that, just throw it out, dude. Something is going to stick, and something is going to be as big as that. I think so.
I hope.
It makes sense to me.
It does.
If the ball's rolling and it's like a snowball going down a hill. It just gets bigger, collecting more snow. Something big is going to be at the end of that.
The world's too big, and there's too much hidden, regardless of the scale of it.
Yes.
There's just too much hidden by the government or from the government to its people. The government hides too much from its people.
And we're in a transparent day and age.
Because what's like, oh, yes, exactly.
So it's so transparent. The fact that stuff like that exists right now and we don't even know about it, like
I was about to say,
it shocks me.
I was about to say, what do they say that the government technology is like 20 years ahead of what we have?
Yeah, I hear that. I hear stuff like that.
Yeah.
I don't know specifically if that's the number, but I mean, approximately, I'm sure experts would say that.
Let's say 10 to 20 years.
They keep shit like that in the dark for sure.
Let's say the technology that the government has right now is 20 years, or let's say 10 years more advanced than what we have right now. Just take a cell phone from 2019 to 2009. Look at that 10-year gap in technology. I mean, that's a huge gap.
Oh yeah, the stuff is changing rapidly.
Yeah,
the stuff we're able to do and the stuff that we were not able to do, like the difference between 1400 and 1500.
No, fucking the difference between 1970 and 1997.
Well, what I mean is, if you compare two, you just take 100 years out of there.
Yeah.
We've developed things in 5 years sometimes.
Yeah.
That is more drastic than it moved in hundreds and hundreds and thousands of years.
The more advanced technology gets, the faster it progresses.
Yeah, and I think the same thing is going to be said with all this shit getting leaked. I think other countries might step in and expose some stuff too.
I think so too.
About us.
With grudges and yeah.
It's interesting. I don't know. Fun discussion. Anything else you want to add?
No, except fuck leg.
The one I will say is, if you haven't looked into it much, and people should, is you got to look into fucking creepy Joe Biden stuff.
Oh,
that
like
is so weird,
the
dude.
touching.
So weird. I don't understand.
The touching, like the creeping hand
so
and stuff. So
fucking weird, man. So weird.
Like putting his hand on the breast of like a 12-year-old girl.
He's so the look in his face. This spacey dude who's like half there. Oh, he's all there when he's doing that, dude.
Yeah.
He has tunnel vision.
Oh, because I mean, you can just listen back, and this is
multiple occasions.
This is in no way a political statement whatsoever. This is not Democrat, not Republican, nothing. But look back at some of the fucking speeches that he's given. and how out of it he's been, and how he mumbles over his words and trips over his words and says all the wrong stuff. But then when he's got his hand around a kid,
he sees beauty.
Yeah.
He could cry. It's such a beautiful moment to have such a beautiful young girl right in front of him. It looks like he could cry and just say, "Come here," and just start kissing her like he fucking loves her. So creepy. So creepy. Joe Biden is insanely creepy.
Yeah. They all are.
Yeah. Yeah, but that guy's very weird, man.
Yes.
That's like the seventh heaven dude type, like that kind of like.
I'm going to be a wholesome guy,
turmoil.
but then I'm going to touch kids on the side.
And the thing is, people in the gut, if we know from videos, what do you think people know who actually know the dude?
That's what I was talking about, all the Pizzagate shit and stuff like that. If these little morsels are being leaked, dude,
it's a risky thing to be the one. There was a guy I know I keep talking about it. This seriously will be it. There was a guy at the gym recently. We were talking about somebody, and he goes, people say or something that guy like is like weird with his girl, like might hit his girl.
Mm-hmm.
Like this guy just comes to class occasionally. And I was like, what? He was like, that's what I heard. And I was like, fuck. But it's like, who wants to be the person to really get that word out when you don't know? And you don't realize it till you're in a circle like that where you're like, man, people do protect things, or they don't want to be the ones to say it. They don't want to be the one that's wrong. And then it's too late. And next thing you know, everyone's like, yup, I knew that guy was creepy.
Yeah.
He was always weird. Look at the photos. Look at that.
Yeah.
Look no further than Joe Biden. That's all I'm saying.
The buck stops there.
Creepy. Woody Allen, it's all fucking creepy, dude. I could go on forever about it.
It's weird. And especially now with the whole Me Too stuff coming out, the pedophilia in Hollywood and politics is crazy.
Yeah, dude.
Because what Woody Allen married his like 14-year-old stepdaughter.
Yeah.
Elvis did the same shit.
Dude,
he married Elvis, Jerry Lee Lewis, maybe not Elvis, but I think he might have. But Jerry Lee Lewis married his 14 or 15-year-old cousin.
I think when you do that in the culture that we're in, you're a monster. Like, it's one thing if that's your culture and it's like a big cultural gap, like we do, some tribe from some place or certain areas where they think it's okay to marry at 14, whatever. In American culture, if you're doing that shit when you're in a position of power, you need to be like extradited from power.
Yeah.
You have it all taken away. Like, chill, give me some of your money, give me back some of your shit. You got to gain some weight, start being unattractive. Let's cut your balls off.
Yeah,
send you back out there.
You make a joke, but I think castration's a
it's not a bad idea. What are you going to do?
Acceptable punishment for that.
Just lock them in a cell for the rest of their life? Like, I mean,
make it fucking worth it.
Yeah, I don't know. It's weird. That stuff's that's like the one thing too that's just off limits. Like, you can't even talk about a problem. Like, if you're struggling and you're into kids or some shit, like, or that kind of weird stuff, or, like, man, I'm kind of into, dude, I worked with that one,
no names.
It doesn't matter.
Yeah.
I could say it. But what's he going to do? It's only his first name, Chris.
He didn't. He was worried about having a daughter because he didn't want to fuck it or something like that.
That, I don't know if he said that.
I thought you said that.
Maybe he said that, dude. He said so many creepy
or
things. He was into younger girls.
He was worried about. Okay.
He didn't get into the police. That was actually
we're talking about a different person. With this kind of stuff, try not to say names.
Well, I don't care. I will say I'm not going to say his name and spell it out and get him in trouble. But if it's only enough where he is, well, I guess people can look into it. You're right. That's a bad idea.
We'll say, especially when it comes to like pedophilia and shit, or maybe we should be exposing
I'm okay with saying what I know. I know for a fact a guy was oddly interested in younger girls.
And then there was the Stinky's brother.
That was the one who said he didn't want to have a daughter.
Yeah,
because that's what and they're creepers. And I tell everybody they're creepers. That's the first thing I say about them. They're fucking creepy, dude.
If you're making a statement like that, which is completely hypothetical and years down the road, like, you're in no position to be having a kid. You've got no kid on the way, and regardless, even if your kid's 2 days from being born. To say you don't want to have a daughter because you might be attracted to it.
Crazy, dude. Crazy.
That's fucking weird.
All right. I gotta go.
Let's end it.
Cool.
Later.
See ya.